Hello, you beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Integration Station. I'm Naturally Ashley, your host, and backstage, I'm going to bring them on right now because I just can't wait, is Tanasi and Lady Hyphae, who is, can I share your real name? Or
That's who everybody in the community will know us as Tanasi and Lady Hyphae. That's what we kind of go by.
All right. So yeah, I was inspired to have you guys on because I wanted to hear more about what you were doing in the mushroom space. I love, I don't know, in my own journey, it's been maybe over 20 years I've had the privilege of working with these things. But what you guys are doing is just like gone deeper and deeper. And so I thought we could go deep together. You could share what it is that you've been learning, what inspired you to get into psychedelics, mushrooms specifically, and how people can join in around the world.
All right, let's start. I guess we'll start at the beginning. How all this became, how this all came about. It started with me. I've always been in psychedelics my entire childhood, right? Growing up as a teenager and stuff. It wasn't until I went to the army and got out, and then I moved to Denver, and weed was legal. I started growing weed, and then I was like, well, I can grow mushrooms too. So I started growing mushrooms about 11, 12 years ago. And then I got deeper with the mushrooms and using them for myself, really, being just like no one else but the people I lived with knew I were growing them. And I was basically just using them on myself as therapy and learning. And I would watch and listen to podcasts and like Terrence McKenna's and like these people doing like the Kalindi that was doing 30, 40 gram doses. And I listened to them talk for hours. And then I was like, okay. And then I'd grow the mushrooms and practice on myself in my bedroom. And I saw how much benefit I got from it, how much the mushroom helped me grow and just become a better human than what path I was down. So and I was just sitting on the couch one night, and we're like, I want to start a mushroom grow kit. I can make a shoebox and teach people to grow, because I learned from watching a lot of Subcool. Subcool would hand out information and teach you in videos, growing organic and super soul recipes. So I was like, I can kind of do that too with the mushrooms. And the Chinese proverbs, I'll tell everybody, if you give a man the fish, he's only going to eat for the day. But if you teach a man to fish, he'll eat for the lifetime. So that's what I want to do with the mushroom grow kit is I don't want to just give you a bag of mushrooms, because you get therapy and growing and cultivating your own medicines. That's part of it as well. But you learn that in a shoebox, you can grow your own medicines and you can literally treat yourself. If you follow and listen to us talk on podcasts, we go into some details. We're very knowledgeable and we'll share what's happening. It's very personal, right? Especially if you go to the Instagrams, you can read about the 10, 5 gram trips and stuff and how they are. But if I can bring that to you to help you, and I eat, especially being a veteran, if I can give that to you, and if you're willing to do that, instead of eating the handful of pills that the VA wants you to eat or whatever, I feel like it'll help a lot of people. And so all this starts because I want to share the knowledge and bring that to people easily. And then genetics is a very big part of it. That's when fruity spores. So you have sacred 3 mushrooms as your supplies. We teach you how to grow in the shoebox and everything. Then you have to buy your genetics. And that's kind of what Fruity Spores does. And that's where she runs the lab. And Danielle's head of the genetics department. So.
Yeah, so I've known Tanasi for about 4 years now. And so my background is I'm a medical laboratory scientist. And, after meeting him and, became friends, I was like, hey, I really am into this mushroom thing. Like, teach me, like, I want to learn more. And I have a science background, medical laboratory scientist. So I've been working with mycology for 7 years. But never had really grown mushrooms on my own. And so when Tanasi brought me on with Fruity Spores, that's where all the genetics started. And it's just been, full lab, everything going on, and all the genetics from, your life culture plates, your liquid cultures, just pretty much everything.
Because when it all comes down to growing, it's literally 70% is genetics, and then 30% growing conditions. As long as it's above freezing, you're going to have at least some mushroom spot, no matter what your horrible conditions you can put it through. But as long as you have strong genetics, it allows for that to happen. But that's kind of where we're going today. And the therapy I get is I just want to bring that to people who's out there searching for it or maybe be want to experience. And if you can listen to me talk and share my story about what I'm doing with the mushrooms and how it's helping me, maybe I give someone else the encouragement to want to try to help themselves and see a different light. Because it's the mushrooms open up your eyes. We get into these ruts in this life, and then you don't see your way out. You don't know you're in a rut, and then it's just you're grinding your gears. And then you take the mushroom at a ceremonial type dose under the right circumstances. I feel like it shines light on that rut and lets you climb out of it and show you how you're acting and make you want to make that change. And that's the positivity of it in a nutshell, right? In a nutshell.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And like I see even the Terrence McKenna weaved in there, they were putting out ways to make it so that people could start growing at home and show how easy it is. And even the only experience I really have growing, and I'm glad that I have it, is through grow kits that were available in Canada. And I tried a couple different ways, but I never really did what Steve's doing here, what you guys are doing with the genetics. Like I find it, for me, it's the beauty and the art of it all, but like to go in scientifically, my mind doesn't grasp it in the same way, but I can still talk about the spirituality or different things more, but it's somehow it all really comes together. And I love that you guys are making this so accessible to anybody that's willing to do it and in an easy way.
And that's the goal, right? To make it easy for anybody who wants it. Because out here in Colorado, we did the big psychedelic science show, and it shined a big light for me to see that what direction this is going for when it comes to money and these big time corporations that are going to come in. They've already built the basis for ketamine. So it's legal ketamine. You can go, it's like $5,000 or $6,000, I believe the lady said, for 6 sessions of ketamine. And it's like, so you've already built the thing, and you're just going to charge people thousands of dollars to come take when mushrooms comes online, you're going to have that available or whatever next plant medicine. It's like, no, you don't need to pay somebody to go sit in their room that you don't know thousands of dollars to eat 5 grams of mushrooms. That's ridiculous.
And just to comment on that, it was so fascinating to see how many medical doctors, psychologists, psychiatrists who were buying our genetics, buying our kits, and would say to me, I am going to grow these at home for myself because I am a believer in plant medicine. And these are, psychiatrists, what do they prescribe? Medicine for people. And, these psychiatrists are sitting there telling me, like, I'm going to grow these at home because I want to take them and I want to be able to give them to my patients and be able to say and use therapy with it and say that it is a safe way because, within the scientific part of it, there are all these different alkaloids that they're discovering that will literally bind. Norpsilocin is one of them, and it literally binds the same receptor that an SSRI binds. And that's actually from a white paper out of the University of the Czech Republic. So, it's just so interesting where this is all headed and how many, the spirituality of it also mixed in with the scientific part of it.
Super scientific. Like, so we're doing freeze dried. So we had a cup. I don't know if you knew about that. We had a psychedelic mushroom cup last November. There was like 512 people entered their mushrooms to be tested through this lab. And we were able to see what type of substrate they used, to their drying methods, and how they stored it, and then see these the percentages. So there's a huge database that's being collected by this lab, Altitude Consulting, which we're also we go to them each month with the samples, and we're doing testing on our own. And I was just ran one through the freeze dryer versus air dry, and then you could see what percentages of psilocin psilocybin is happening, and the breakdown is very visible. Pretty cool knowledge that we're seeing, and that's something. So when you're taking 10 grams of this mushroom that's tested, it's like there's different ratios of psilocybin, psilocin, and that's kind of deterrent on how the mushroom was dry. If there was a lot of heat involved, there's a higher psilocin content, which it hits you harder, faster. Your body doesn't have to break it down. And is that something you want to have in that 10-gram mushroom? Do you want a higher psilocin? Do you want like a very high psilocin with a little bit of psilocybin, or do you want extremely high psilocybin with a low psilocin? There's like, so that's where we're kind of at now with this testing phase, because we're both doing big doses. Now we're testing the mushroom. Now I have test results for these mushrooms. Okay, now let me go eat 10 grams of this mushroom that tests at this with a high psilocin and see what that is compared to the one with lower psilocin. And
yeah, because
it's very interesting.
Yeah, because we've had a lot of discussions about, are people, there's so many people who are huge in microdosing right now, and, a microdose you're not supposed to feel. So with, we've been talking about with these, just with the larger doses, do you want that higher psilocin content so it hits you quicker? It may not last as long because your body's not having to do the conversion of it. Or with like a microdose, do you want a higher psilocybin content so it takes longer for your body to convert the psilocybin into psilocin, and so that can last longer throughout the day for these people who are using microdosing to help treat anxiety or depression, PTSD. So I think that's like a huge conversation or topic that people are exploring right now. And that's, where I think testing is a huge part of it, it just shows you really where we can go with all of this.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I absolutely this breakdown, and then also with each genetics too, it's like people can start figuring out for themselves which specific methods, like when people are picking out in their own diets and in other areas of their life when they're doing the integration work too. It's like, okay, well, this is what I need for exercise. This is what I need for like breath work style and when I'm feeling certain emotions, and here's what I need for journaling practice. It's like it just helps with the breakdown of like this fractal level that kind of goes.
So I get a lot of questions, and I'm not a medical doctor, so I cannot give medical advice, but I get a lot of questions just about on which variety of mushroom should I take because I have anxiety, or which variety of mushroom should I take because or so I can quit smoking cigarettes and nicotine or doing nicotine, and I always just try to explain to anyone who's asking that that everyone, their body chemistry is completely different, and a microdose or a large dose of a certain variety is going to be completely different with one person versus the other. So I always tell people, like, you really just kind of have to figure out what works best for you. And yes, I do think that the percentage of psilocybin and psilocin will have a similar effect, but for me, I love the Casper mushroom. That's just like one of my favorites. And I think it just works really well with my body chemistry. And I recently did a 10-gram large dose, and that was quite the experience for me. Definitely. We can get into large doses if you want to start talking about that.
Let me hit on that too. I think there's a misconception that I talk to people about this a lot. I don't think this plays on your, like, people who eat mushrooms play, oh, my body weight or I metabolize things faster. I don't think this is working on that. I think it comes down to your body chemical makeup in these realms.
Like actual genetic.
Right, actual genetics.
Like your DNA.
I don't think it has anything to do with your heavy set, skinny body fat, or whatever metabolites. I think it's all DNA based in genetics. I feel like a lot of people like, oh I don't need as much because I metabolize faster or something. I'm like, no, I don't think that's actually true comparing to what I've done.
I do think though that, there definitely are going to be people that are more sensitive, or people who are
I
taking
think
are
that's
large.
okay. It's going to go on diet, on how your neurons are hitting, and maybe you don't take pharmaceuticals, so your receptors are all active, and things like that. I think play a huge part.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk some more about that? Just, you know, on even a basic level, like what that would look like from, you know, who should be microdosing certain things, what are good strains for people who are sensitive that maybe want to work their way up, or and also, you know, who's right for a heroic dose and beyond, because you guys are, you're talking, you know, 10 grams, and you know, you
Right.
mentioned too, like 30, 40. There's like, you know, there's a lot of people that don't even realize that that is a real thing, or that you could do that. There's some people that still believe that they could die from mushrooms, and there are so many that are available that are medicinal and delicious and also psychoactive and really do, you know, track our DNA back down to the source. And you know, there's so much here. So please, like, share what you guys have figured out.
So the best way I describe it to people, because everybody's making these crosses and they're trying to get these potencies up without actually having it sent to a lab and testing and knowing for sure. Any of your basic mushrooms with a white stem and a brown cap is going to be around your common, like your land race type strain of weed of a mushroom from whatever region it's from, coastal, whatever forest. But a brown cap, white stem is more about like a good micro dosing mushroom for someone to try and start with. I can find which one you like of that one, as opposed to trying to find like a penis envy or an completely albino mushroom. Those could be a little bit more potent. Maybe that's your microdose too, though. You may need a more potent, higher content for you. You might like that more than some people, but most of the time, I think people are doing the brown caps because they're mostly under 1% of psilocybin, is what the tests are showing us. But if you're going to do a big dose, you don't want to eat your lowest percentage, right? Like a golden teacher or normal brown cap white stem mushroom. You wouldn't try to eat 10 grams of those to get to these realms of the breakthrough or therapy that we can get to. Those are, we've only gone, that's why we're also testing, right? So we've gone down to 5 grams, and we know of a certain mushrooms, you can eat 5 grams and this will still happen on an empty stomach. Knows a recipe and whatnot. So.
Yeah, so I can, give it an example. I have a friend who recently reached out to me, and she recently visited me, and she said there's something just so different about you, and I told her, I said, I've been doing these larger doses of mushrooms, and I've really been doing the work with the mushrooms though. And this person is was terrified of mushrooms, as like a psychoactive mushroom. And she said, she just hasn't been feeling herself and just not healthy. And, the doctors are trying to figure out what's going on with her. And, she said, but I think I want to try it. I want to try microdosing. And so with that, I suggested a golden teacher. And right now, she is taking 0.07. She's 0.07. And she said to me actually yesterday, I don't feel anything. And I said, you're not supposed to feel anything. Don't confuse when you're microdosing, don't confuse your more energy or just general overall happiness for being high on the mushroom. So this is someone who went from literally being terrified of taking a mushroom at all to seeing me and saying there is something so different about you. Like you just have this, there's a glow about you. And I said, it is the mushroom, and I will stand behind that 100%.
Yeah, so a lot of people they've either grown up hearing bad things about the mushroom, or they've taken the mushroom in the wrong setting at the wrong dose and had a traumatic event happen. And so they're scared to death of it. So we have to break those taboos and show them that this is a tool. You used it wrong, okay, and you got punished. As opposed to, no, you cannot die on the mushroom. You can eat your body weight. There's people who reportedly ate 70 grams of mushrooms and they have not died. I've seen videos of people claiming to have eaten 100 grams of mushrooms and not died. You can eat your body weight in mushrooms. You will not die. At the worst case scenario, if you're just fist over fisting mushrooms, the worst thing that's going to happen to you is you're going to barf. Your body's going to regurgitate the mushrooms. Trust me.
But that's also probably because, you're trying to get rid of something. There's something bad inside that,
There's nothing negative. There's nothing negative about a bad time.
No.
Sometimes I get more therapy out of some of the most brutalist trips, the ones that are not pleasant, than I do out of the glorious ones that are all happy. There's something deep into the ones that are harder.
And it's more of, I think also with mushrooms, you're not masking the problems that are going on in your life. They will address your problems, and it really makes you think about what is going on in your life, and go into these, whether it's a microdose or a larger dose, go into it with intention of what you are trying to accomplish. And it may not always be the easiest, but rather than just taking something that's going to mask it, a mushroom will show you what you need to change about yourself. At least that's my personal experience. I think I have suffered like severe anxiety for a very, very long time, and I don't think that I'm 100% totally, my anxiety's gone, but would I say that 80% of it is gone, or has someone told me that, yeah, I can see that at least 80% of this, and this person lives with me, he tells me, like, Danielle, 80% of your anxiety is gone at this point. Like, you still definitely have some work to do, which is fine. Everyone has work to do, but
Work, yes, because this isn't, you eat 10 grams, it ain't going to solve all your problems. It ain't going to fix the depression. It ain't going to make you stop suicidal thoughts. You're still going to have these things, but it's going to shine light on those thoughts that you're having and let you see it differently than you have been. That's the magic. It doesn't flip the switch off and stop all the issues, but it shines lights on them so you can see them and understand that that's happening and then reassess. Oh, you're muted.
It'll show you what work is yours to do, but you still got to be the one to do it, This is one of the biggest differences I noticed between doing the larger doses and the micro doses. And it's that you're more of an active participant when you're microdosing. You can see these things and you can go at it with a little bit more presence and clarity, but it's going to take longer. When you're doing the larger doses, it's like kind of like hitting a reset button, and now you've got these new pathways, like a whole bunch happens at once. That quote or meme that's out there where it's like 10 years of therapy and you get it done in 6 hours. But
yeah, we've talked about that too. Is like, you can get to the same point, it kind of like exactly what you just said, you can get to the same point of taking a microdose, but it might take 6 months of taking this microdose, depending on the person. I don't know, versus taking one large dose, you hit that 6-month mark right at that 10, or at that larger dose.
There's therapeutics in all of it, right? Mm-hmm. There's therapeutics in the microdose, but then to have the mindset change is a larger dose. And then there's also ranges in between that where it's therapeutic, like 5 to 10 grams is therapeutic. If you're trying to go 15, 20, that's more like space exploration type stuff. You're not really getting a lot of therapy there. So there's levels to it.
Yeah.
Well. And you don't know that because what I want to be able to do is say, okay, if you grow this mushroom right here from our stock in this setup of manure, whatever, and you eat this much of it, this will work. This will happen. And if I, without having to have you test it and make sure you have the right percentage of psilocybin psilocin to make you hit those ratios, I want to be able to make it simplified for everybody, right? Because I don't want you to eat 5 grams of golden teacher and you're just sitting there tripping balls. Like I don't even enjoy that.
I don't want to be at that spot.
I don't like the feeling of just tripping balls like 3 or 4 grams. Now that I know what's beyond the door, I only want to hit that door and go through it. I don't want to sit here and just like, I'm kind of more freaked out about taking 3 or 4 grams than I would be 8, because I want to go there, within the mind.
That was a Terrence teaching too. The only thing dangerous about these things is taking too little. But it's the fad, and what a lot of people are doing now is the microdosing because it's more convenient. Just like the problem with society is everything's kind of more convenient now. What I really do love is that I've been working with a lot of retreats lately, and they've been bringing me in to do the integration work after. And a lot of them are working with people 5 grams up. And so it's actually becoming more and more common that people need the breakthrough dose to be higher and higher. Maybe in the 60s, that all they needed was the 5 grams because society was a little bit slower. This is just something that starts coming to me in these conversations, and it's what comes up for you guys, and I'm just gonna mute again.
With the 5 grams, when you hit that first breakthrough, it's like you will never, you can't understand until you have that first breakthrough, and so for me personally, in my first 5 grams, when I came back from, it was about like 5 grams. I would say you're back to baseline around like 4 hours. You might be a little trippy still, but you're pretty much back at baseline or after about like 4 hours. But just having that breakthrough and being able to process it afterwards, and it was just like, wow, I never knew that something like this existed. I'd taken mushrooms before, but I'd never had a breakthrough before. And it was so healing and so inviting. It was like, literally, we're also trying to document our larger doses also. So we always have someone who is completely sober with us when we do it, and like a trip sitter. And whenever we have them, we feel like we need to speak something, we just speak it out loud, and that person is there, and has dedicated their day to, myself or Tanasi. And, they just write down whatever we mumbled or what we said, what we're feeling, and what time it was at. And, on one of my first ones, it was like, I was literally felt like I was being called in, invited in. And then, I had a quite the experience, and it was the best experience ever. It was very, very, it was very pleasant. So that's also just a fun thing that we've been doing too, is also just documenting these larger doses.
Yeah, because I want to share the knowledge, just in case, like if you're thinking about it, you got some troubles going on, you listen to me talk about it or break it down or read what I wrote. Maybe that gives you the motivation and courage to do it as well. Because be safe about it for sure, for hell's sake, right? And God, gotta be safe, but you can't. I have done this many, many times in my bed alone. I haven't had anybody there. And those have all been good. I've never had any bad problems, but things can go wrong for sure. Not to say they won't, but setting and dosage, prep it, have everything that you can think of. But
what are some things that you guys would recommend to anybody who would be doing this at home? Like, these are great tips, like, and especially coming from people with the experience of going these larger doses. I love the idea of having somebody recording for you too, instead of having the cameras on. I've noticed in so many ceremonies that it really does change the dynamics. I really think it's a better idea to have it all away and have that time be
Right.
more sacred. And so that's a beautiful way of doing it too, having a community. There's something special about the number 3 too. So yeah, I'm curious what other advice you guys have. And
I'll break it down. I'll give you the recipe for us. So we will fast for 24 hours the day before. The day before, and this is something we're hoping to maybe start a podcast on and record the day before you're fasting and everybody's intentions, all the way down from the trip sitter to the person taking them to someone who's probably thinking about taking them. We're all in the room. We're going to talk about it, do the big dose, and then the next day we'll come back into the podcast room and then hash it out and say what happened and share that knowledge. But so the previous day before you take them, you're going to fast for 24 hours. And we don't take pharmaceuticals. We have no antidepressants. We hardly eat junk food. We eat a lot of meats and vegetables. So our diets are pretty clean as they are. If we can, we'll cut back on caffeine and a lot of sugars. You know, same type of dietary prep you'd do for ayahuasca, right? We're just gonna get your system clean, because when you're doing this, you are a conductor of electricity, of energy, a vessel. And when you break through and you reach these realms, you can feel this energy flowing through you. And I feel like if you're full of McDonald's and all this trash and candy, it is going to slow and clog up that connectivity of what you're trying to accomplish here. And the cleaner your diet, the cleaner your system is, I feel like that energy flows more fluidly through you. So cleaning up the diet's a big deal, and just fasting for 24 hours. Because when you take a big dose, you don't want anything in your stomach. You want just the mushrooms. Then, so the day of, we've been doing it in the mornings. Instead of fasting all day, to take it at night is kind of hard. It adds a little more complications to it because it's a little harder due to the fact that you're up all day thinking about it, right? As opposed to fast the whole day, go to sleep, and then wake up, and then in the morning we kind of like going to church about 10 o'clock in the morning. We'll eat these mushrooms and take them down with nothing but water.
And then quickly.
Within 15, you need to get them in within 15, 20 minutes. You don't need to be eating mushrooms for 45 minutes. That's not gonna. You're slowing down what's about to happen, or you're not gonna get the best effect. Then we'll go into the room. You got your blankets. I've got something to wrap.
Sorry, do you mind if I just ask for preparation because of that? Because, larger doses, there are people that do lemon tech and teas. And do you guys have a preferred method? And then
my preferred method right now, if it's under 15, is eating them.
Just chomp them down quickly with water.
Little nibbles, and slug it back with water, and don't be afraid to use half a gallon of water if you have to. Swig them back, just raw mushrooms. If you're going to try for the 20 grammer or 30 grammer, I would probably try to eat 12 or 15 grams, and then the rest of them would probably be a tea. I would probably split it up between tea and raw mushrooms on super big doses. But anything up to 10, 12 grams, you can eat these. It's very capable.
Yeah.
Do you eat the mushroom after in the tea too? Do you still get it all in, or do you discard?
Not on a bigger dose. So if I was washing 15 grams, or I've washed 15 in the tea, but I haven't done 20. But either way, anything above that, there's not going to be that much, I think, left in the mushrooms. I would strain it and just squeeze it all out and just take the juice, because I feel like there's still going to be a lot in there.
And I do think it's important too, just no matter what, to actually eat some of the mushroom of the sacrament, no matter what, when you are getting into those higher doses, you definitely need to eat some of it and have that experience too.
It'll be a texture thing for me. And in the tea, I can't get a wet mushroom down easily. But a dry one I can crush up and eat, no problems. But either way, you've ingested your mushrooms, right? And then our rooms are set up where you've got your blankets and something to wrap around your head to make it dark, right? To turn off the lights. And then we have a shamanistic playlists. I'm going to get that recorded so I can have it better available for people. I'd like to share this with people, whoever wants to do it. But if you are subscribed to YouTube and it won't play commercials, and you go to YouTube, go to Tanasi Gardens YouTube. You go to playlists, go down to shaman, and you click on the very first thing on shaman. Those first 3 things listed in that will get you through a whole ceremony. And it'll be beautiful. The most beautiful thing you've ever heard in your life.
Yeah.
But you have to be subscribed to YouTube or it's going to play commercials in that. But we have recordings downloaded now, and I just need to have something to play it and record it without interruption for 4 hours. And that way, I want to be able to MP3 it or share it with everybody, whoever wants it, and download it. But so you have your bucket, right? Your bucket in case you need to puke. You got your water, and it's best to have water with a straw, something to slurp. You don't want to tip up. It's easier to slurp up water because you just need little sips, or you'll want little sips, especially. Then I sit in the bed and put the blind on, and I start going into focusing on breaths. Deep breaths in my nose and out your mouth. And will continue for the next 3.5 hours. Minus little pee breaks, right? In and out.
Yeah.
Bathroom's really close, so I can get up about 3 feet, be on the toilet, and come back into the bed. So that's very easy for me. If you don't want very far to travel to the bathroom.
Because you might stumble a little bit, but
Okay.
you'll make it there. You'll be okay though.
And that's the biggest thing with your big doses. It's you, the darkness, and the mushroom. No one else can help you when you go into these realms. So in times of panic, when you're squirming, you're freaking out inside, you feel the panic, the panic and everything. The only and the best thing I can say for you is focus on your breaths. You can control the panic in your soul by controlling your breaths. Deep breaths in, deep breaths out, over and over, and you can slow down the panic in your soul and stop it.
So yeah, there will be
that's the best trick I can.
There will be intense moments, and like Tanasi is saying, deep breaths and like letting it out. Like if you need to do some humming and woo, let it out. That is such a good thing. It's like you feel it inside of your body and your soul. It's just this crazy emotion and energy just coming out of you.
Your breath is purging out all this energy, and whatever you can do to push it out. Oh man, it feels so amazing. You feel yourself cleaning yourself out. And I always tell people it's the Green Mile moment's happening. The Green Mile moment. So like when John Coffey's back in the cell from sucking the cancer out of the lady, I believe, and he splits out all the butterflies and stuff. That's like that is happening. You're like cleansing yourself. I'm serious. Illnesses so 5 grams. I didn't feel the DNA connection, but on a 10-gram dose, I felt like my DNA was connected to the universe and I was being cleansed. And I feel like if you had an illness, I don't know if this could help, but I sure as hell felt like I could. If I was sick of something, like that cleansing that was happening was the most intense I've ever felt.
Yeah.
And that was the ODs. That was some aborts that were. We have the test results. We could actually share those. And know what the purpose is.
That'd be awesome. I was curious, in listening, if that panic, maybe it's not the soul that's panicking. Maybe it's that whatever is in there that needs to be let go in the form of the purge. And the purge can be that like primordial scream or hum or whatever it is that you're tapping into in that moment. It could be through movement. Like, you know, I've done some crazy things in those moments to just like go, because you have to. It's part of that surrender. And it is the medicine doing its work. There's starting to be more and more research into its the benefits in gut health and things like that too. And that's where serotonin is made, like all of that. So it's, I think, all part of that. And you are what you eat. So when we're getting these in us and it starts healing our gut, it's like this becomes part of you for a long time. And it's like reminding that old DNA too in this kind of fractal levels.
Yeah, and it's like, just don't fight it. When you feel the need, or if your body's telling you that you need to purge something out, don't fight it. Just, that's why, you might have a bucket next to your bed and you can just lean over and, just don't fight it. If your body's telling you to do something, it's telling you that for a reason,
One of my first 7, when I was doing to learn all this way back, I regretted. I laid up in the corner of the room and just like, I need to puke, and I just held it in, and I felt so horrible after that trip, because even though I don't puke most of the time, actually I don't ever puke, but you feel like you need to puke, so I'll like push fingers down my throat and just hang over the bucket, and it's just like you're hacking out but nothing's really coming out. There's no vomit, but the bucket will smell as if I'm vomiting. Like it will have a foul odor to it. And I'm just like hacking out, just like, just, there's no really like water, nothing's coming out.
There's
energy.
Yeah, it is energy. There's in Kundalini yoga, there's actually a mantra that you're doing kind of with your tongue out, and it's hard, and you're supposed to go really, really deep with it because it's such a
It sounds
detoxifying
demonic. It sounds demonic.
Yeah.
In the moment, you are you're scaring people.
Well, that's why if anyone's around, that is someone that you love and you trust, and they're not going to judge you. They know what's going on, and they're like, oh, they're going through it right now. It's okay though.
Yeah. It's so important that be part of the environment. That's what the whole setting part is. And and then there's the mindset, and that's part of it too, is understanding that there is going to be this point of discomfort, this point where you have to let go of that need for certainty in anything, because you don't have any control. So
yeah.
And it's kind of part of it. And if you can learn that in a psychedelic trip, and that's the only thing you get out of it, is that this is for you, this is a good thing, then it's worth it. I wouldn't like
100%.
There's no point in calling anything a bad trip, because you can take that understanding into regular life, and it's like that with any lesson on top of that is a bonus for me.
Right. I don't like to hear bad trips. I don't think there are bad trips. I think there could be misuse and abuse of the medicine, yes, but really bad trips is just the mushroom showing you something you probably don't like.
It's just hard at the moment, or but it's not necessarily bad. You're working with it, I mean, you really are just working with
Prep work too. I couldn't imagine being at a concert and eating 7-8 grams.
Well, and that's when you
hear people doing, which is just like, and how are you standing up? I don't understand. How did you do that?
Yeah, because people, and they're like, oh, and that's when you hear the people say, oh, I will never take it again. I will never take a mushroom again. And I'm like, well, when was the last time you took a mushroom? And they're like, well, I was, at this concert at the Mishawaka, and I just ate a handful, and then, I didn't know where I was. And I'm like, well, okay, that's probably why. It was, you definitely were not in the right setting, and the preparation for it, my last 10 gram, I had it written on my calendar that's on my fridge. It was also the same day as Terrence McKenna's birthday. It was the day before my 31st birthday, because I was planning to have like a full reset. So it was to turn 31. And I looked at that every day for like a month. and just like knew I was going to do it that day. And even that morning, you know, I woke up and my boyfriend looks at me and he said, "So are you really gonna do this morning?" I said, "Yep, absolutely, I am. You know, it's been on the calendar. I've been preparing for this. You know, I'm mentally prepared for this."
Yep, because you had done all the work. She had cleaned her diet up, no alcohol, pretty much sugars. And you do this, you fast for 24 hours, which isn't easy, right?
No, that was not easy.
And then you've already done the prep work, and then you just have to eat the mushrooms, which is also determined. Okay, I guess there's another step. So you eat the mushrooms, which also takes your strong will and determination, right? And then the last one is to lay in the bed. You have to have self-control and know that you're here for a reason, and to lay in the bed and not jump up and run through the house and have all the lights on and trying to write in a book and paint, watch a movie, whatever all that distraction is keeping you from the big deal. Because when you go lay in that bed and you put a blind on, the show begins.
Mm-hmm.
You're at the cinema now.
Close these two and open that one, right? And it is such a part of it. I think my body's kind of done that naturally. It's like just have to disconnect as kind of a coping mechanism or something like that. It all becomes kind of too much stimulation, and it is part of it that you do have to withdraw. And then there's also, you know, kind of like emotions of coming back in like over time too, when you get more of that like euphoria. But yeah, please, can you dive more into that process of like now we're laying there and now like I didn't mean to distract from that, but now we're laying there and we're going inward. You know, what is it that normally would be coming up? Is it
I take in so I try to think of like 3 to 5 things or my intentions for this ceremony. And it could be as easy as like my last ones. Or one always is anger. I always want anger on that list to assess in that situation. And kind of like when you've hit up about an hour and a half in, you're like, okay, start asking yourself your questions. Why am I so angry? Why am I so pissed off all the time about this and that? And then after a couple of, delegations, the mushroom does its thing. I also see a lot of battles in there. It's like, oh, the mushroom ain't going to show me nothing. It's not going to answer my question. It's not going to tell me what I want to know. And then it takes another couple hours, and then bright light, boom, here's your answer. This is why you feel this way. This is why you're in this rut. This is why you're thinking wrong. And it shows you, and it takes the whole process to kind of figure that out. So I do have intentions when I will go into it, things I want to think about or work on or ask in those times.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what anybody can do, is just write down 3 things that you want to ask. Why do you do this? Why are you this way? And see what comes up.
yeah. And release expectations of having anything else like attached to it. As you were saying, like you don't need to be, that's not the time to be doing art and having all that kind of stuff out. That's like put away those kind of distractions.
They're
Because
distracting.
exactly. Yeah. I mean, that doesn't mean in the moment, like if you're, feel like I do make sure that I have space that I can like move my body and do things like that. But again, it's like, it's just me. And I think that that's really important. Do you guys have other people in the room? Do you ever do ceremony together, or people with you in like all together? Or do you have space where somebody's waiting in another room? How do you do that? Or what's been your
The
preferred
most recent ones has been she's either at her house or for both the same house. We both have our own rooms. So she'll have her own bed in the room, and her boyfriend's documenting, and then my wife's documenting mine. So it's kind of separated, and it's pretty cool to see what she writes down and what we write down is almost identical at the same exact time, like when you're breaking through and stuff. And I've done a group of 4 on. We took an ounce and split it in a tea, and everybody broke through on it, and it was a house of insanity for about 4 hours of where no one. I don't know if they truly fasted for 24 hours. I just asked them to fast for 24 hours and come over at a certain time, and we would take the tea. So I don't know if they truly fasted, but they definitely could not sit down and lay down in the bed. So they were up, running through the house. Every light was on. One guy was trying to write down in a book and just kept asking questions over and over. And his girlfriend was smashing grapefruits and pomegranates into the floor. And it was just a house of insane asylum is all I can think about. It's like if you go to like a One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, where that scene where everybody's just going crazy, one dude's screaming into the window, the other guy's just shouting in the corner and just like losing their minds. That's exactly what was going on. If you don't follow the protocol, you are a full-blown mental case. If you are on 7-10 grams of mushrooms on an empty stomach and you are running around the house or trying to go into the streets, you have a highly chance of going to the hospital or jail.
Or someone's just going to be like, what's wrong with you?
Someone's going to ask you what's wrong with you because you're going to think you're acting normal, I guess, but you're not.
Yeah. Well, it just kind of just brings you back like full circle too, that, it really is it should just be you and the mushroom and you doing the work with yourself, rather than having it, I think, there are big ceremonies that happen, but when you place the intentions of it really just on yourself, you can forget about all of that, and you are like, okay, I'm going to have the self-control to just be in this spot and be within my own mind and not, forget about everything else around me. And that is one of the major like therapeutic parts of it.
Yeah. This is one of the benefits of what you guys are offering here, like coming even more full circle back to the genetics part, is that being able to do this breakdown of what everything is can help you better identify what it is that you need, and it becomes part of the preparation work. Sourcing your dose, you're sourcing your medicine from yourself, and suppliers that you now know, and genetics as well that can now be broken down into what specific needs you can experiment with a little bit more knowledge behind it.
I think that's the big thing, knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Let's break the taboo and get these bad or wrong thoughts, really, that people have with the mushroom and see it in a different light. Right? It's just knowledge. It's a tool. You can use it to hurt yourself, of course, like anything else, or you can also use it to build a home. It's pretty magical. Just a tool. You just have to understand it and know how to use it, because you can scare yourself and everybody else in your family.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much. Is there anything else that you want to share before we get going today? I have our banner here, so you guys can go check out Sacred 3 Mushrooms and also fruityspores.com, and there's 10% off code there, everything on the website all the time, so you guys are welcome. And yeah, I'll keep that up. You guys, anything else that you'd like to share?
Just check us out, Sacred 3 Mushrooms on Rumble, YouTube. So I try to post videos on YouTube, and YouTube takes them down. I get strikes. I'm surprised the channel is still up, honestly, on YouTube. But Sacred 3 Mushrooms on Rumble, and start looking at our videos, and that's where you can see a lot more information over like the freeze dryer testing and long form videos of the testing we're doing. And then anything, or
Instagram, Sacred 3 Mushrooms, Fruity Spores, Lady Hyphae. We post a lot of good information on there. Lots of pretty pictures of our cultures. And then we have a lot of great videos of just how to grow the mushrooms yourself, you know? So
we answer emails on sacred3mushrooms@gmail.com or fruityspores@gmail.com. I'm always answering daily emails, so we will answer every email.
yes.
It might take a day or two, but we get to them. And so if you got any questions, even if you've never bought anything from us and you just have growing questions or maybe dosing questions, throw us an email. I don't care to answer those. I want to share this knowledge, whoever wants it.
We have a couple more minutes left. I was wondering if you could share a little bit more about the testing, because I remember you mentioned that you had something to share on that.
So we're doing the potency testing with Altitude Consulting downtown in Denver, and so each of our mushrooms, we don't have a test for everyone. We probably have one for probably 12 different varieties of our mushrooms, and so we'll have the percentage of psilocin and psilocybin content and how we kind of grew it. So maybe if you want to buy genetics from us, ask us, hey, do you have test results for this genetic? And then if I have them, I'll email them to you. I don't care to share those testings because it's also going to come down to the drying method. So it kind of drying method and all that can play a big difference.
Yeah.
And if I grow it or if you grow it, that can change depending on how you treated it after harvest. That's probably going to be the biggest change that people would see from you growing the same genetics than I grow, and the testing would be different. It's probably going to most likely come down to the drying point after harvest. Did you air dry it? Did you put it in a dehydrator or freeze dryer? It seems the freeze dryer is the best method for preserving. Right now. We also are very early in some testing, but as of testing I've got so far, the freeze dryer does seem to preserve and stall out psilocybin breaking down into psilocin. But that's where we're going to battle it. Okay, is that really what we want? Do you want a mushroom that has all psilocybin and no psilocin? Or do you want a mushroom that's been air dried that has a little bit of psilocin because of the heat of drying? And a little bit, because the psilocybin does drop a little bit, but not too much.
And psilocin is it's very unstable molecule, so it will degrade super quickly. So that's why on an air dried mushroom, you will see usually a lower content percent psilocin versus psilocybin. So.
And that's where I want to test, because I want to know the psilocybin. Although there's still high psilocybin, which is good, and the way I dried this is rose the psilocin up. I'm curious, is there a method, because the pain. Because to test off this, we had some old dirties that had like a 0.09 psilocin and like a 0.13 or 1.3 psilocybin. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody, but it does to me for now. That 10-gram dose hurt so bad. The come down, like hour 5, hour 6 after eating them, I was in excruciating body pain. Like the base of my neck, top of my spine was just aching. I had a Theracane in there. I was just for hours just massaging my neck and my back because it just hurt so bad. And that's where I'm going to want to do the most testing on. It's like I want to eliminate that from happening. So did that happen because there was a high psilocin content? And I got there real hard and quick and fast, but did my body reach a threshold of psilocin at that, as much as it can take or whatever? I breached a threshold that caused it to overdo and maybe cause pain. I don't know. I have a lot of speculations. I don't know crap about it.
This is data we're working on.
This is data we're working on and testing, because I don't want to eat the 10 grams and hurt every time.
I kind of would like to see the person match to that. Like if there was somebody who was working with people and doing that kind of testing, you can match like the psilocybin and like with the actual person's DNA or where they're at with whatever markers they're showing, like a collaborative effort. I don't know, but maybe that's too much. I don't know.
I don't ever want to feel that much pain again on that. That hurt.
Yeah, I was here for that day, and he did not come out of the bedroom for a while.
It was the brink, for sure. I died. Ego death 100% on that one. And the Caspers tested the same, but the psilocin was half.
Mm-hmm. As much lighter and fluffier.
She ate those on 10 grams and didn't have that much pain.
No, and I would definitely did not have an ego death on 10 grams of Casper.
So she doesn't feel like she got as far as I did with that high psilocin content, but she didn't have pain.
Yeah, so interesting.
Very interesting data, and that's follow us on Rumble. I'm gonna keep shooting videos and talking about these results, and then we'll also describe our trips and what we're taking and try to break that down. It's all scientific knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Even if we did extract it and you had pure psilocin, maybe the dose is a little of this, a little of that, not just all psilocybin. We don't know this. And then there's so many others that they're testing. So Muralux on Instagram, they have found terpenes. They're breaking down terpenes of the mushroom now. I think they listed like 5 or 8 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, so like the same with the CBD and the cannabinoids, they're going to do that with the mushroom. We've already got baeosystems, and which the natolenses. So you have cubensis, right? And then we have the natolensis, which is its own little species or family or whatever strain. That one has a 0 psilocin on the test, psilocybin and baeosystem. So it's hitting a baeosystem instead of psilocin. So and a lot of reports on those trips are very pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we don't even want psilocin. Mm-hmm. Maybe you want all psilocybin and some baeosystem or some that we haven't really discovered yet, and then let your body naturally, or during the ingestion, convert psilocybin into psilocin. Let your body do the work. Maybe that's the thing. I don't know. Yeah. But how interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because who would have ever thought, man? When I was 16 years old and I ate like 4 grams.
You didn't do that when you were 16.
I ate 4 grams and laid in the bed and in the room and thought I was going to die. And I was so scared to go down and tell my parents. I just laid in the bed just thinking like, I am going to die. I am going to die. And if I would have known that no, you can eat your body, you ate mushrooms, you won't die, that would have been a completely different trip.
Oh my gosh.
I always think back to that very first hard mushroom trip, and that was the one. If I'd have known I couldn't die, it'd have been a completely different trip.
Because for some reason, the standard that everyone's told is, oh, eat an 1/8 of mushrooms for your first time, and I don't know why everyone thinks that, but it's everyone I talk to, what was the first time you ate mushrooms? Oh, I ate 3.5 grams of mushrooms. And I'm like, okay, yeah, me too. And, I definitely didn't have a breakthrough. I was just really trippy.
That's the fun about this test. That's why I'm so damn excited, because it's not just eating mushrooms and tripping no more. Okay, we know if you eat this percentage of psilocybin, this mushroom at this many grams, you're going to have this experience, this religious breakthrough, spiritual moment. Mm-hmm. And that's the goal, right? I want everybody to experience that at least once. Even if you hate it and it's the worst thing you've ever done in your entire life, you need to see this at least once.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone?
Yes, it's a human right.
Yeah.
It's crazy that it's been villainized. Cannabis, for some reason, it's like it doesn't grow everywhere. People are taking it back and growing it everywhere and, helping it survive. But mushrooms literally still grow on every continent naturally. They couldn't take it away. But it's part of the actual planet with the mycelium and everything. It connects everything, including us. But, at the same time, it was villainized and, and made to be scary. And even now, there's corporate punishment and like all that kind of stuff. It's crazy. But it's beautiful what you're doing. You're bringing it home. You're making it, a safe and sacred thing. I really appreciate that and all the work that you're doing. And another thing, I'm realizing in listening to you guys bring the science into all of it. And one of the ways that it really does come together is, life gets a lot simpler when we can look at the data instead of the drama of it all. And so the more data that you actually have, the more you know yourself, the more you know what it is that you're working with when it comes to, even these psychedelics being part of our nutrition. If we're working with them consistently in a intentional way, it really does help us get more out of it. And yeah. So thank you for being here. All you do, I'm going to make sure everything's in the links below and clickable. I'm also going to add in that shamanic playlist too. So anyone
Sure,
who's interested in the large doses can, just have a nice guide on the side for that
I
wild
did
ride.
recommend to subscribe to YouTube. You don't want commercials coming on in the middle of that guy.
But send us an email if you do not subscribe to YouTube. We will get the playlist out to you. We have it set pretty well for a larger dose, and it's beautiful music.
Do you know what's really awesome if you guys own that YouTube? I really appreciate that you guys actually do all your own website, everything yourself. That's, it's amazing to be doing that. And same with running your own YouTube is that there's an Odyssey network thing that you can also have, and it transfers everything over and everything's downloadable. So they do all the work for you. As soon as you send them an email, they transfer over everything you've uploaded on YouTube, new stuff and all the old stuff, and it's all decentralized.
They've taken all my videos down. Here's how crappy YouTube is when it comes to censoring. I'll give them shit too. Is that they want to? I had totes, little shoebox totes of teaching how to grow pink oyster mushrooms, and they still declared me as selling narcotics. And so they gave me a bunch of strikes for those videos. So I took every one of them down. And then I made some videos of the freeze dryer testing, which are on Rumble only right now. That all I did was talk about a freeze dryer and what the test results were. And they took those videos down and gave me strikes as well. So all the videos are off pretty much of YouTube. Pretty crazy. I don't like the censoring of it because, okay, yes, if you see the dude pushing pills and doing crazy things and bags of weed, he's a drug dealer. Yeah, yes, take that shit down. But when you can look at videos that are what I'm doing and teaching, what I'm saying in the videos, like someone sit down and watch the video for 3 seconds, and you'll know that I'm not selling drugs. So you can't classify me as a drug dealer and I'm selling illicit things, because I feel like that's completely wrong. It's lazy of YouTube to do that, and I hate them for it.
Well, it's one of the reasons why it was taken down from Facebook. They just kept censoring me. I eventually took my own account down, and I was off of it for about 4 years until recent times when I was traveling. It was convenient for family. But it's kind of a shame in itself. But, it was deodorant and things like that I was making, and they just kept censoring me for it. It was very silly, but it's why decentralized networks like Odyssey are so great too, because they really are backing everything up. So before it even gets taken down, as soon as that upload happens, they've already got it backed up. It's on its own email address. Anybody who actually clicks to watch it can start earning cryptocurrency. I'm not actually into that myself, but for anybody who is, it's like one of those perks that they have. And also anybody who's uploading can get tips from those people who are earning the crypto. So you can collect, be collecting, and they're preserving all of that data that would normally be censored. And there's a lot of known people who are censored that are over there just because it's an easy transfer and you're still talking to a real person. I've talked to them through email before, and so.
Yeah, Odyssey and Rumbles, I think, are the two big ones as their YouTube's or competitors, I guess, whatever. But I've seen Odyssey too. I think I've got an account on there, but I don't post anything.
That's why it's good just for the transfer. you don't have to actually do anything. It just preserves what you've already got done.
Uh,
Rumble, I have too, but I don't actually do anything on there, so I don't even know what it's really like. But yeah, we'll have to talk more. I really appreciate you guys being here and for your time today. Yeah,
Thank you for having
Yeah,
us.
thank
This
you
has
so
been
much.
fun.
Yeah.
We enjoy doing this and sharing the knowledge.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe we'll do it again. I know Steve's doing more work on psychonauts too, and he'd definitely be more into like diving into all the scientific stuff you guys have going on behind it. And even for myself too, I'd love to know what you guys are doing in your own integration, how you're developing more into your career and things like that too, because you're building your life around something that's you've already had like such a significance in your life. It's a really great way of just being in reverence. I'd love to hear more about that too. So thank you. I'm really
It'd be great.
yeah. There'll definitely be more to come. Thank you guys.
Thanks.
Thanks